Y, and Wiiest. Now, from the formidable studios of KLVT Levelland, it's Smarter Radio. It's who, what, when, where, why, and Wiiest. With your host, Michael Wiiest.
That's right, kids. We're back for another week of who, what, when, where, why, and Wiiest. Glad to have you along at KLVT Levelland, KLVTradio.com, KLVT Facebook Live. And we're going to call this running beta testing, I guess. I don't know. I've decided since schools can figure out how to take learning online in a matter of seconds, it seemed like, that I can surely figure out how to get on the YouTubes with the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the Wiiest as we expand our platforms ever more. We got to do the show quietly, though. Hosmer's asleep. Hosmer, are you sleeping? Hosmer. He's out. Hosmer's out. Hosmer's going to be our special guest today, but it's pretty obvious Hosmer doesn't want to play along. So, who, what, when, where, why, and Wiiest. Good afternoon, everyone. Here from KLVT Levelland, KLVTradio.com, KLVT Facebook Live. Certainly hoped you had a wonderful Easter holiday. We've heard a lot of reports from around the country about, well, religious services were limited with the Easter holiday and the COVID-19 crisis. We'll talk about it. The president is now officially ready to take the press out behind the woodshed. And he lasted, quite honestly, longer than I thought he would. He made it to Friday this week. Or pardon me, till yesterday, Easter Monday. And the president finally said, okay, enough is enough, let's go. And the president threw down. And he threw down in a big, big way. In a big way. You remember Steve Mnuchin, Secretary of the Treasury, told us back on April 1st that checks to the American populace for stimulus would be rolling out in 2 weeks. Remember this? You remember this. He also told us at that time, he said, here's something else you need to understand. The SBA loans, they're going to be ready to go. Boom, on like Donkey Kong. Remember that? We're bringing it back because the press sit there and scolded Steve Mnuchin. Scolded him. Said, oh, that can't be right. That can't. No. House Ways and Means says this. The IRS says this. We're going to tell you what exactly is what coming up right here on Who, What, When, Where, Why, and Wiiest. Governor spoke over Easter Monday as well. The governor, folks, let's be fair here. Look to the right of Governor State of Texas, Greg Abbott's name, and you see a little R in parentheses. The governor has basically said, okay, when the president says let's open, we're going to start opening stuff. Not going to tell you exactly what it is just yet. Hang on. We'll talk about it in a couple of days. We certainly expect to hear from the governor this week. I expect to hear from the president this week on the future of reopening sectors of the United States economy and sectors of the United States populace. Now, I'm not going to say that by Wednesday we're going to pack 40,000 people into an arena and hug. That's probably not going to be the case. However, I do expect the non-essential term to grow immensely over the next 7 days. At least here in the state of Texas. Because the president has said repeatedly, we need to get back to business. We're at a point of diminishing returns. We're at the point we got to get going because the debt is going to continue to grow to try to fund all this stuff. And the United States populace are the best operators on the planet. That's just the way it is. We're going to talk about that because the governor is starting to say the same stuff. The governor is saying, hey, guys, you know what? We're going to do it safely. We're going to do it safely. We're going to get started again. And, of course, there's days you hear, oh, it'll be July. It'll be August. It'll be September. It'll be St. Patrick's Day 2029. We hear so many things being thrown around. However, Republican President Donald J. Trump and Republican Governor Greg Abbott seem to be saying the same thing. We got to get going. We got to get back to work. We got to reopen the economy. We got to put people back in their jobs. We got to get going. And I will tell you right now, this is just around the bend. Now, I'm not going to sit here again and speculate that Major League Baseball is going to be back tomorrow. Please bring back Major League Baseball. I'm not going to tell you your kids are going to be back in school tomorrow. I'm not going to tell you we're going to be back to high school athletics tomorrow. But I can feel it. I can feel it in the breeze. It's coming. It's going to look different. It's not going to be one day we're at 0 and the next day we're at 100. That's not the case. However, it is starting to happen this week. Just telling you. We're also going to talk about this pastor in Virginia who is absolutely getting blasted in the media. There's a pastor in Virginia who said COVID-19, God is bigger than COVID-19. He said it on numerous occasions. That pastor, God rest his soul, has passed away from complications with COVID-19. And the media, that's all they're going to say. Well, that pastor that said COVID-19, God's bigger than COVID-19. He died. That's what they're going to say. They're going to say it over and over and over and over again. I'm going to give you the take on that. Because the mass media likes the splash, boom, bang headline. And the headline isn't that the pastor in this church in Virginia died from COVID-19. It was the message he gave before he passed. And you have to understand, unless you're willing to read past the headline, that you're going to get hung on this thing. We got a bunch of stuff to do. I want to say hi to Rusty and Shahara, who have joined us today. Lots of people dropping by. If you have a question, you have a comment, please put it on the comment section at the Facebook page. Love to hear from you. You can text 806-893-9341. You can email Michael at klvtradio.com. I really anticipated, folks, I got a great idea. I'm going to take Monday off for Easter, and I'm going to come back Tuesday, and I think it fired me up more than it calmed me down because I'm just sitting listening to the national media all weekend and through Monday going, good grief. These people, president didn't do all this in time. These are the same folks that 2 months ago were saying, why are you doing all this stuff? What are you doing all this for? Anyway, best in Texas, folks. Best in Texas brings you who, what, when, where, why, and Wiiest. Their rooms are deep cleaned for you daily. They're ready when you need them. They're thrilled to support local. They are thrilled to be part of Levelland, and they're thrilled to serve you at Best in Texas, 894-7335. 894-7335. Get your calculators out, kids. We're doing math coming up because math never lies. Who, what, when, where, why, and Wiiest. We're back after this. Don't move.
This is Brianne from Hockley County School Employees Credit Union. Hockley County School Employees Credit Union offers several different savings certificates. Open a minimal savings certificate with just $1,000 on a 6-month to 24-month term. We also offer regular certificates and jumbo certificates, all of which offer a very competitive interest rate. Find out more at Hockley County School Employees Credit Union, 894-6204, or online hcseccu.org, member NCUA.
It's 2020 and the folks at Lintigar Electric Cooperative want you to have an energy-efficient year. Electric bills tend to go up with the cold weather that winter brings, so here's a few energy-saving tips to help keep your cost down. Lower your thermostat, especially when you're going to be gone for longer than 4 hours. Keep doors and windows closed as much as possible, and check all exterior doors for air leaks. For more energy-saving tips, contact Lintigar Electric Cooperative at 877-218-2308 or check out their Facebook page today.
Texas A&M Forest Service is working with the local fire service and residents through the Ready, Set, Go program to protect lives, property, and livelihoods from wildfire. Prepare your family. Ready. Create a family disaster plan and know your evacuation routes. Set. Be ready to go at a moment's notice. Go. Evacuate your family, pets, livestock, and cherished possessions to a safe area. For more information, visit wildlandfirersg.org.
That's right, baby. I'm too cool for school. Hey, but I'm not too cool for math, because math is king. Welcome back. Who, what, when, where, why, Wiiest. Here on KLVT Levelland, KLVTradio.com, and KLVT Facebook Live, where we are too cool for school, but we're not too cool for math. We're not too cool to do math. And math is math, my friends. Math can't lie. Math can tell you no stories. What math can do is math can point you exactly to where you're headed. Math is math. It is simple. It is complete. Okay? There's no gray areas when it comes to simple mathematics. There's only plus, minus, division, and subtraction. That's all there is. And I've equated this several times. This is a good friend of mine, Coach Jeff Hart, logged onto the broadcast. Hey, Coach, hope you're doing well. And I've equated this several times to the fact that if I've got a hitter that's hitting, 390, I'm going to probably move him up in the batting order. If I've got a hitter that's hitting a $190, I'm going to trade him for a player to be named later, send him to the minors, something like that. So math is math. Statistics are statistics. Here's the statistics, my friends, coming into today. This is from the CDC. Now, you heard early TSN say, well, Johns Hopkins says the Johns Hopkins numbers are bigger than this. The reason they're bigger than this because the Johns Hopkins numbers for the state of Texas include the cruise line passengers that are in San Antonio at Lackland Air Force Base. They include them. So we've taken them out because the CDC in the state of Texas is doing this for the state of Texas, not people that are at Lackland who are on a cruise ship who aren't actually from Texas. They folded them in because they're in a Texas zip code at this moment in time. So here's the numbers. This is the numbers according to the CDC. So unless the CDC is lying to us, then here you go. Currently in the state of Texas, we have 14,624 active cases. That is up 4,394 from Friday. So in a span of Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we're up about 4,300 cases, almost 4,400 cases in the state of Texas. That is 14,624 cases. The infection rate is 0.5%. The infection rate of the populous state of Texas, 29 million people, give or take, divided by 14,624 cases divided by 29 million people works out to 0.5%. 0.5. The next number, hospitalized. 1,409 folks are in hospitals across the state of Texas today. That's 9% of those tested. So of those tested, less than 10% of people who have been tested are actually currently hospitalized. Less than 10%. Recovery rate. This is something the CDC didn't do. And I ask for some clarification on what recovery falls into. And recovery, the all clear sign, means that you've done your 14-day period since you were identified. Then you showed no symptoms for 72 hours. Then you cleared 2 negative tests. So if you figure 14 days plus 72 hours is 3, that's 17 days, 2 tests is 2 more, 19, 20 days. 19 to 20 days it takes from the day you're tested to the day you're officially recovered. The recovery number right now is at 2,580 in the state of Texas. That's up over 1,200 from Friday. Over 1,200 cases. We're up over 1,200 recovered. And that means 17% of all cases reported are now recovered cases. Those are people that are good to go. They're good to go. Unfortunately, our deceased is up. Our deceased is up 92. 318 folks have died in the state of Texas. And that means the mortality rate on this currently amongst those tested is 2.1%. So the mortalities divided by the people infected works out to about 2.1%. That's where we're at currently in the state of Texas as far as the numbers are concerned. If you look a little closer to home, Lubbock has an active 317 cases. That is up 103 from Friday. That means, and I missed doing the math on this, folks. That's what happens when I'm scrambling, firing away at the calculator. There's about 305,000 people in Lubbock County, give or take. We just went to 305. That's rounding down, by the way. That means the infection rate in Lubbock County is about 0.1%. 0.01% rate of infection in Lubbock County. And as we just told you, state of Texas, the infection rate is 0.05%. In Hockley County, we have 14 cases, 1 recovered, 1 fatality. If you figure Hockley County encompasses about 23,000, that means you come in a Hockley County infection rate of 0.6%. So there you go. That's where we're at according to the math. Now, what's this tell you? Well, here's what it tells me. This is what I gather from breaking these numbers down. We're still getting positive tests. Well, duh, we're testing more people. I mean, we have tested 146,000 people in the state of Texas. Now, you can look at this number, which I find interesting. You can take that number and you can divide it by the 29 million people who live in the state of Texas, and we've tested 0.5% of the people. That's less than 1% tested. But let's be honest. You have to look across the state and realize we still have counties that have reported nothing. Nothing. Not a case. Not 0. Not 1. Not 2. 0. None. So if you look at it from that standpoint, you're going to eliminate several people in that realm for the simple fact that they're not going to be testing in certain places. And we had Bruce White on earlier today from Covenant saying, well, we've broadened testing some. It was very, very narrow who we were able to test for reasons why we would test them based on the number of tests available. The number of tests available are becoming more and more daily. We've heard that from the governor repeatedly. We've got more and more tests. Tests are quicker. Point-of-care test is something that CEO Bruce White was talking about from Covenant Health Levelland this morning. It's now you're getting tests that are more like checking to see if you have tonsillitis or strep throat. Swab the back of the throat, few minutes, boom, you got some. So the tests are getting easier. Therefore, we are testing more. That only makes sense. Therefore, we're finding more cases. Well, yeah. Here is the cool part of this testing thing. The infection rate is climbing very, very, very slowly. You're talking about in the neighborhood of 0.001% it is climbing. So if you think about $1 and 1 penny is 1% of $1, you're talking about 1% of the penny that we're climbing by those increments while we're testing more and more and more every day. Fatality numbers, they're up. Of course they're up. you have more positive tests. Therefore, fatality is going to climb. However, it's not changing course. It's not changing course by much. It's ranged around 1.9 to 2.1% fatality. Early on, of course, we saw it down a single percent. Now we're up to about 2.1. I don't know if that number is going to climb all that much more. But the real encouraging news is the recovery. And I think there was a lot of pressure put on the CDC and the health departments in states to start posting recovery numbers. Because I just heard something earlier today, and I think the quote was right on. And what they said was, Americans are going to get tired of this. They're going to get tired of social distancing. They're going to get tired of their favorite places closed. They're going to get tired of the news being all COVID-19 news. They're going to get tired of it. And as they get tired of it, social discord starts to roll. And I will tell you this, that the governor of the state of Texas, the president of the United States of America, has a good set of fingers on the pulse, and before a single medical professional, I know I can't take my pulse up here. I get it. I don't want to take my watch off, okay? Okay? The point is, the government has a very good grip on social discourse. When you start getting the complaints rolling in, okay, we've done enough. They've got a better grip on the economic numbers than I do. And the president, the vice president, the governor, they're all saying the same thing. We have got to make the corner. We've got to start reopening the economy. We've got to get moving. Because the further we go down the rabbit hole, folks, the farther it is to get back. Who, what, when, where, why, and Wiiest this afternoon on KLVT Levelland, KLVTradio.com, KLVT Facebook Live. A member of the clergy has lost their life to COVID-19 and is making headlines, well, really, for all the wrong reasons. We'll tell you about it coming up here on KLVT Levelland, KLVTradio.com, KLVT Facebook Live. Don't move.
Stewart's Pit Stop on Clubview Drive in Levelland is all about the social distancing. You can stay right in your car while your services are provided. Full services on your car, truck, SUV, and your diesel too. Stewart's Pit Stop. Call 897-LOOP or slide on in to 514 Clubview Drive in Levelland. Stewart's Pit Stop. Slide on in. Change is good.
The desire to help people and promote good health, it's in your DNA. So why not go to the front lines of healthcare? Healthcare officers in America's Navy are a globally renowned network of caregivers. You'll venture beyond the routine, and you'll bring world-class healthcare to service members and their families and others in need. You'll take away experiences that last a lifetime. America's Navy, a global force for good.
KLVT keeping you weather connected in Sundown, Brownfield, Muleshoe, and your community with the KLVT Weathercast. Mostly cloudy and 47 today. Wind out of the northeast at 5 to 10, then partly cloudy 31 tonight. Northeast wind at 5 to 10 will become southwesterly after midnight. 60 on Wednesday. Keeping you weather connected, KLVT Levelland, KLVTradio.com.
When it comes to keeping your family cool this summer, you need an HVAC system that's Reliant. Give Reliant Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning a call at 778-0421 and ask about our AC maintenance specials. Reliant has 0% financing available and a $1,500 rebate with a $750 instant cash back on qualifying units. Restrictions apply. Keep your home or business temperature controlled. 778-0421. You can rely on Reliant Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
All Ag Products for all ag producers. That's why Ag Products is at 1001 First Street in Levelland with a full line of chemical, fertilizer, and seed for farming thousands of acres, or maybe that backyard farming you're going to do over the weekend. They also carry a full line of Purina, Linders, Sunclo, and Mormon feed for all your livestock production. And of course, there's expert knowledge and a friendly staff to put it all together. It's All Ag Products for all ag producers. At Ag Products, 894-6665.
Welcome back. Who, what, when, where, why, and Wiiest. Glad to have you along. KLVT Levelland, KLVTradio.com, KLVT Facebook Live. As we cover who, what, when, where, why, and Wiiest. You have a question? Have a comment? You can email me, Michael at KLVTradio.com. You can text us. 806-893-9341. Drop it on the KLVT Facebook fan page. We're streaming live right there right now. Welcome back to What, When, Where, Why, and Wiiest. We crunch the numbers. And tragic news out of the state of Virginia from over the weekend. And the media is going to go ahead and give you the one line they like to give you. And the line for this particular item is going to be this line. Virginia pastor dies from coronavirus, believed God is larger than disease. That's the headline they're going to give you. They're not going to go any farther than that because that would take work. And whoa, we don't want the media to go to a whole bunch of work. That'd be silly. That'd be crazy. Here's the deal from Virginia. The coronavirus has killed a prominent Virginia pastor who told his congregation at a service in March, quote, "I firmly believe that God is larger than this dreaded virus," end quote. Bishop Gerald Glenn founded New Deliverance Evangelical Church in Chesterfield outside of Richmond. He died Saturday. His church announced his death on Easter. Glenn spoke about the coronavirus on March 22nd in his last known public service, days after Virginians were urged to avoid large, non-essential gatherings of more than 10 people. On March 23rd, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam turned into an order requiring non-essential businesses closed and banning gatherings of more than 10 people. "I firmly believe that God is larger than this dreaded virus. You can quote me on that," Glenn told his followers. Calling himself controversial and in violation of safety protocols, he said, quote, "Way more than 10 people at the church. I'm vowing to keep my church open unless I'm in jail or in the hospital," according to the report. He concluded remarks by saying, "I am essential." Glenn's death came a week after he was diagnosed with COVID-19, according to the local paper. And funeral services are set at the church. Here's my take on this thing, okay? I have said this. If I've said it once, I'm going to say it 193 times between now and then. Now and whenever this is. I am not a fan of having churches closed down, period. Here into the sentences. Not a fan. Our churches have done tremendous work on figuring out how to be the church without being in the church. And that is crucial when it comes to conversation of religion. It's crucial to understand that the body of the church, the bricks, the mortar, the sidewalk, the pews, the lights, the plumbing, does your church still have a cry room, you know, where if you got out of hand, mom took you to the cry room? And it wasn't so the parishioners couldn't hear you cry from what you were crying about before. It's from when mom spanked your butt that they couldn't hear you scream. That's what it was for. They were good things. It's good to have a cry room in the church. Used to have those in theaters too, by the way. Our churches around the greater Hockley County area have come to the realization that we can be the church without being in the church. We saw a great example of this on Easter. We had drive-up services on Easter. We had our friends at First Presbyterian Evangelical Church invite us to bring you an Easter sunrise. Our good friend Dr. Sammy Elliott, First Baptist Church, they had their regular services on Facebook, on the radio, you name it. So they're doing a good job of figuring out how to worship without being inside the church. And more importantly, they're being the church without being in the church. And we've seen several groups pop up based on the principle that we can still serve others, we can still walk in the faith, we can still serve without having to be in a specific time and place on Sunday. They've done a great job. This pastor didn't see it that way. He saw it that I need to get my folks to church. They need to come here. We need to worship together. Okay, that's his choice. Here is the beauty of America. It's his choice to say, nope, I'm going to get my people together. We're going to worship. If you want to come arrest me, come arrest me. Fine, whatever, go to it. Now, he's contracted coronavirus and died. And there are going to be those out there that are going to say, well, we told you. But it's the headline that really grabs the attention, as headlines are. Virginia pastor died from coronavirus, believing God is larger than the virus. I have heard it from about 93 different sources, and about 90% of those sources, like the media is taunting this man's spirit and belief. Welcome to America today, where this pastor who has died because he contracted COVID-19. Now, we have no proof that he contracted COVID-19 in the church or somewhere else. We don't know that he spread it to anybody else. We don't know. That's not even out there yet, because the national media has jumped on. Pastor said he's, God's bigger than the virus, and now he's dead. That's just exactly the way they're approaching it, and it's sick and it's wrong and it's awful. Because God is bigger than the virus. God's bigger than everything. Bigger than you, bigger than me, bigger than the government, bigger than the virus, bigger than everything, including Hosmer the Wonder Cat over here. He's bigger than everything. So the bottom line is, the media, especially at the national level, is going to continue this narrative. Oh, see, we told you shouldn't have church services because we told you this is what was going to happen. Somebody's going to get sick and die from this. Hey, beauty of being America is the fact this guy said, no, I'm going to go ahead and have church services. They want to arrest me or I'm in the hospital, fine, so be it. And he left his parishioners the choice. The choice of, do you want to come to church and risk contracting coronavirus? You want to stay home? He left him a choice. I'm pretty sure he didn't drag anybody there. And now we're going to pull the, well, he says God is bigger than coronavirus. And now he died from coronavirus. I even heard one news anchor say, isn't that ironic? No, it's not ironic. It's tragic. And it's awful. And it's terrible that we lost a man of the cloth or any man, woman, or child to coronavirus, COVID-19. It's tragic. But at the end of the day, God is bigger than the virus. Thank you, media. Thank you, national media. Thank you so much for your faith in humanity, your faith in Christ our Savior, your faith in a bigger power than you. Oh, my goodness. How dare we think anything's bigger than the United States mainstream media? That would be crazy. Crazy. Another one from the field of the churches. A Mississippi pastor, Arthur Scott, is suing the city of Greenville after police officers issued the tickets people attending a church service in a drive-in church service. The mayor hopes this pastor hopes the mayor will take action to lift the penalties. Police shut down Temple Baptist Church drive-in service, according with a city ban on large gatherings. Attorneys for Alliance of Defending Freedom filed a lawsuit Friday on behalf of Temple Baptist Church. The filing charges Greenville Mayor Eric Simmons' April 7th executive order that prohibits drive-up church services until statewide shelter-in-place is lifted. How in the world is a drive-up church service in violation of this? Somebody help me. Now, if people drove up in their cars, they got out, and they started mingling around the parking lot, okay, maybe we got something there. But if the people drove up, sat in their cars, and listened over an FM transmitter, which is what I'm understanding in this story, how in the world is that violating social distancing? Okay, maybe if I got a van and put 15 or 16 of my friends into the van and drove them out there, and we're from 5 or 6 different households, okay, maybe got a problem. But when the tickets started to happen, when Greenville police officers started issuing $500 tickets to people who refused to leave the parking lot where the drive-in service was being conducted on Wednesday. This isn't okay. This is not okay. This is not okay. One more time. This is not okay. They say about 20 cars are in the church's parking lot when 8 officers came to Temple Baptist Church, Pastor Scott, and started handing out $500 tickets. The lawsuit was filed just before Easter and negotiated in a stay through Easter, but the mayor doubled down on Monday morning saying he would enforce orders against churches. You've even had the mayor of New York City come out and say, if I have to come shut down a church service, I'm shutting the church down for good. Folks, that's not good. That's not good at all. That's bad. Very, very bad. It's one thing to say, okay, we're going to restrict you from piling 400 or 500 people into a building all at the same time for an hour of very close contact, because let's face it, churches are close contact. Is what it is. But to have these people in Mississippi driving up in their cars, sitting in their cars, 20 cars in a parking lot. Do the math. If every car had 5 people, it's like 100 people, but they're all in their cars. They're not out wandering around. And then law enforcement shows up and says, hey, according to the mayor, you guys got to leave. And the people said, why? What are we doing wrong? And they start writing tickets. And I'm not blaming law enforcement. They were following a law quite honestly, that's reprehensible. It's wrong. And I guess we can debate the idea whether a drive-up church service is wrong. But as the Reverend said, the pastor of this church, and I love this quote, Arthur Scott, the pastor, said this. He said, just 2 blocks down the street, the Sonic, they can sit there and talk and eat, but a couple of blocks up the road, we can't even sit in a parking lot with our windows rolled up and me actually preaching from inside the church. And, of course, City of Greenville has not responded to the media's request for more information on the topic. Folks, this is where social unrest will begin. It will begin in the religious sector. Just telling you. It will begin in the name of religion. It will begin in the name of faith. Because here's a church that tried to do something different, unique, and well within what the president has said are the rights of Americans. And well with that, in what the governor of Mississippi said the rights were of Mississippians. And these folks, these innocent, in their car, church-going folks, get $500 a piece because they're sitting in a car in a common parking lot. They could have been sitting in a car in a common parking lot at a store that was open. They could have been sitting in a car in a common parking lot at a drive-in restaurant. They could have been sitting in a car at a common parking lot anywhere on the planet, but they're sitting in a restaurant or a parking lot at a church. And believe it or not, there's a law on the book and an executive order from a mayor that says, no, you can't sit in a parking lot and have a church service with the windows rolled up and your family unit inside the vehicle. Windows up, so on and so forth. Folks, that is too far. I'll say hi to Chad, who just said hi. Hello, Chad. If you've got questions, comments, we'll talk about it on who, what, when, where, why, and Wiiest here at KLVT Levelland, KLVTradio.com, KLVT Facebook Live. We're going to go back and talk about something that happened in the U.S. Navy last week that has raised some eyebrows, but we'll touch on it. Coming up after this on KLVT Levelland, KLVTradio.com, and KLVT Facebook Live.
Are you in the market for temporary housing? Are you a family, single parent, college student, senior citizen, or just an individual struggling to make ends meet? Are you looking for that one thing that can help you stay in your budget? The Levelland Housing Authority has a home for you. They have programs that may be able to help. They currently do not accept Section 8, but do have other programs. If you are looking for a 1, 2, or 3-bedroom home, they have newly renovated locations with central heat and air, washer and dryer hookups, and they would love to show you. Stop by 1837 Avenue I, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. or contact Olga at 894-9075. Applicant will fill out a quick application and be subject to a background check. The Levelland Housing Authority, equal housing opportunity.
Sundown State Bank has tradition at its core. As one of the first banks established in Hockley County, we're proud to be local. That's why we believe in supporting our local teams, our communities, and the industries that keep our economy growing. Specializing in ag and oil field related loans, it's our goal to give you the best banking experience possible, from personal to commercial. With locations in Levelland and Sundown, we're invested in your success. Big enough to serve your every financial need, but small enough to care. Sundown State Bank, equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Hey, we missed you at the game last week. Is everything all right?
I just haven't been feeling like me lately.
You know I'm here for you, right?
That's a cut. Beautiful. Acting is one thing. Talking about suicide in real life is another.
In the military, you take challenges head on.
And now it's your turn to do the same for our veterans.
Be there.
Learn how you can start the conversation at BeThereForVeterans.com.
Baby, don't you know I'm a real soul shaker?
That's all right, folks. We are the real soul shakers, the seekers of common sense in the wake of COVID-19. Say hi to Randy, Chad. Guys, hello. If you're listening in this afternoon and you got a question, a comment, text message at 806-893-9341. Email Michael at klvtradio.com. Drop it in our Facebook feed. Thanks to Big and Rich, because we are soul shakers right here at the formidable studios of KLVT Levelland, klvtradio.com. and KLVT Facebook Live. Well, the story continues on the captain who was removed from Naval Command because of the way the coronavirus was handled inside his command. And it is apparently causing a relatively big rift inside the military, although, again, if you believe the national headlines, you're probably going to find something different. General Milley, who is staff general for the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the chairman, said he supported SecNav, or the Secretary of the Navy's decision to relieve the commanding officer of the aircraft carrier of the USS Theodore Roosevelt. Milley said, I trust Secretary Modly in his judgment. I'm going to support him. Navy Captain Brett Kosher, the Navy's commander, was sacked after he was accused of leaking a letter to the media that went outside the chain of command, pleading for help after more than 100 sailors had tested positive for corona, and nearly 100 others were suspected of being infected. It's his estimation he lost trust and confidence in the ship's captain, said Milley. SecNav is responsible for the accountability of the officials and officers to the American people, and he had reason to believe the captain operated outside of the chain of command and relieved him. SecNav said he didn't mind kosher rating concerns, but it's the way that he did it. How did he do it? He wrote a letter that ended up in the San Francisco Chronicle. That's how he did it. He wrote a letter that ended up in the San Francisco Chronicle. We had retired Rear Admiral Dr. Ronnie Jackson on our show a couple of weeks ago talking about, there was 100 infected sailors and another possible 100 carriers, and now we understand that this captain is infected with COVID-19. There's been a death in the crew due to COVID-19. But the Rear Admiral also reminded us that there's over 5,000 stationed on this particular vessel, on this particular Navy boat, folks, the USS Theodore Roosevelt. And I've had 3 or 4 emails about this, and I've had a couple emails that, he was doing what was necessary to protect his crew. But here's what I get more from. What I have heard more is out of people who have served in the U.S. Armed Forces. I am not amongst the lucky to have served. I tried to enlist. Due to some physical damages, they told me no, I'm not enlistment material. When I tried to enlist, enlistments were actually on the rise because it was right after the beginning of the Gulf War. And they were getting lots of enlistments. They could afford to be picky. They decided not to pick me because of some damage I have suffered to my right hand during a fire when I was little. I did not get the privilege nor the honor to serve in the U.S. Armed Forces, but every time I see General Milley on TV, I kind of want to go enlist. Got the haircut halfway there already. But what I am hearing from former naval members and former military members, members of our armed forces, members of people who served in the U.S. military, and especially the U.S. Navy, was exactly what SecNav said, which is exactly what the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, said. When he said, it wasn't the fact that he did it, it was how he did it. It was fine to have concerns for your crew. That is absolutely 100% acceptable. It's fine to have concern for your crew. But in the military, whether that is Navy, Air Force, Army, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, National Guard, when you are part of the U.S. military, you follow chain of command. Therefore, this skipper of the boat needed to pass his concerns up to the commander of the Pacific Fleet. And when the commander of the Pacific Fleet said, okay, here's what we're going to do, if he had concerns with that, then it kicks it up the food chain and up the food chain and up the food chain. And when it gets to the top of the food chain, which is SecNav, Secretary of the Navy, and he says, this is what you will do, you have a choice. You can either do it or resign. Those are your options. Because the military is not a democracy. What provides for the military and what the military defends is the Republic of the United States of America. And therefore, military members understand when they sign up to go to the services that they will not have the same rights on occasion that you and I get to enjoy because of their efforts. Now, you may say, yes, absolutely, we are very concerned with those sailors. I'm concerned with them as well. I would say if we never lost another member of the United States military for any reason, I would be perfectly good with that. But reality is reality. When you are in the U.S. military, you have put yourself in the way of harm. Thank you, for starters, to all veterans, all those who serve, all those who are going to serve, for putting yourself in the way of harm and defending my right to sit here and do a radio show. I do not take that right lightly. I do not take your service lightly. I am a huge supporter of the American military. I will tell you this. We have the biggest, baddest military on the planet, period. You want some, come get some, because we got plenty to give. But when you have an XO who falls out of the chain of command and sends a letter, whether it was sent directly or leaked to the San Francisco Chronicle, is irrelevant. You have not only let the family of those sailors get secondhand word that their son or daughter or brother or sister or father or mother or aunt or uncle or best friend or whatever may be in jeopardy and cause them undue panic. But now you've also openly disclosed the military readiness, the response readiness, the war readiness of a major U.S. military asset. This would be no different than if the general at Camp Lejeune wrote an article to the editor of the local paper that said, hey, we're low on bullets. It's no different. You don't think that our enemies, and you can say, well, we don't have any enemies right now. Not any that are naval powers. You know why we don't have any enemies that are naval powers? Because we put them all at the bottom of the ocean in World War II. That's why. You can't tell me that our enemies don't want to hear that one of our largest naval assets is struggling with a viral outbreak that may cause them to not be wartime ready. It's not what he did, it's how he did it. Folks, we've got audio from the president, we've got audio from the governor, and breaking news in the presidential election. We'll do it all in the next hour. Who, what, when, where, why, and Wiiest. Don't move. We'll be back. KLVT Levelland, KLVTradio.com, KLVT Facebook Live.
Every morning, the McDonald's kitchen is a symphony. A sizzling, toasty McMuffin symphony. Cue the eggs. While other grab-and-go breakfast sandwiches are kind of one note. It's time to wake up breakfast. Wake up your breakfast with a fresh cracked egg on every McMuffin sandwich every day at McDonald's.
Does your financial advisor take the time to really listen to you? Is your financial strategy personalized for you and your family? Will your financial advisor be there as your life and financial situation change? When you work with Tanner Terrell, your local Edward Jones financial advisor, he focuses on what's important to you. You'll work together and use an established process to create a personalized financial strategy backed by the advice, tools, and resources to help reach your personal goal. Contact Tanner Terrell today at 806-894-2225. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
KLVT Levelland, owned and operated by Cute Boots Broadcasting, LLC.
Wow, those are cute boots.
TSN News, I'm Kelly Wiiest. The latest coronavirus figures in Texas show 14,624 confirmed cases. 318 people have passed away from it. Texas Health and Human Services says more than 1,400 patients remain in the hospital. More than 2,500 people in Texas have recovered from COVID-19. It is the deadliest day for coronavirus deaths in Dallas County since the pandemic began.
Health officials reported another 10 people have died due to COVID-19, lifting the total to 42. The victims range in age from their 30s to their 80s. Dr. Philip Wong is head of Dallas County Health and Human Services and says while cases are still on the rise, social distancing practices appear to be working.
The hospitals are, still having increasing in numbers, but it's, at this point, it's certainly not overwhelming, which is good news.
Dr. Wong says new antibody testing could make it easier to tell who's been infected with the virus and will be a very important tool in the future. The county is also reporting an additional 89 cases, bringing their total to 1,877. Austin, York, TSN News.
Those coronavirus stimulus checks have begun to arrive.
And there's a lot of bad information floating around social media. There are some who think that this is just an advance on next year's tax returns. Jim Oliver with the Texas Society of CPA says that's not true. And he says they're not considered taxable income either.
It's a zero sum. It doesn't affect your ultimate refund or what you owe at the end of next year.
So if you're due back money from the government next year, you'll still get all of it. And no, the government cannot garnish these stimulus payments if you owe back taxes. In San Antonio, Michael Board, TSN News.
Amazon has seen its stock soar because of the coronavirus. Amazon is so busy right now, it is hiring hundreds of people to fulfill online orders from its customers. JP Morgan Chase has become the first of the big banks to report earnings. They turned a profit. It was drastically lower than a year ago. Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott got some unwanted headlines when he held a party for a friend with about 30 people in attendance at his Prosper home. Running back Ezekiel Elliott was also there. Cowboys COO Stephen Jones says the team has talked to them both about practicing social distancing.
They're certainly aware now of how sensitive these situations are, and I don't think, you'll be seeing that anymore.
Prosper police were called to the Prescott home, but they say they were unable to confirm it was a party, so they just reminded him of proper social distancing practices. This is TSN News.
Mueller's online tools helped Jessica design her own building.
The 3D tool is so convenient. I was able to use it in the comfort of my home. I didn't have to physically go into the branch and try to describe to them what I was wanting. I was able to add the lean-to that I've been picturing on my building. I can add roll-up doors, windows. It's really cool. Once I finished my design, I was able to get a quote. I was amazed at how much my building looked like the building that I designed in the 3D tool.
Visit our website today at MuellerInc.com.
Fight back at flies this season with ready-to-use Cleanup 2 Pour-On Insecticide with IGR. Cleanup 2 Pour-On Insecticide controls house flies, stable flies, horse flies, black flies, horn flies, and deer flies on cattle with just one application and zero withdrawal. And it's the first cattle insecticide pour-on product to include an insect growth regulator. Fight back with Cleanup 2 Pour-On Insecticide. See product label for complete product information, indications, and application instructions.
3 potential COVID-19 vaccines are making fast progress in early-stage testing in volunteers in China and the U.S. Israeli police are using drones to check in on coronavirus patients who have been ordered to self-isolate at home. The Navy has removed 126 medical staff members from its hospital ship docked off of Los Angeles after 7 of them tested positive for COVID-19. President Trump hosted several coronavirus survivors at the White House today. He congratulated them on making a recovery from the virus. Utility crews continue working to restore power to people in Maine after a snowstorm. Longtime Jeopardy host Alex Trebek has a memoir coming out July 21st, the day before his 80th birthday. I'm Kelly Wiiest. This is TSN News.
The Texas State Network on KLVT Levelland and KLVTradio.com.
Everyone is invited to join us at the First Christian Church at 311 Clubview Drive. Join us every Sunday for Bible study with Moki and Kay McCrary at 9:30 and for worship services at 10:45 with Jesse and Liz Hodge. Come and find and know God in the name of Christ our Savior at First Christian Church in Levelland. We hope to see you soon.
On March 21st through April 19th at the City of Levelland Spring Clean. I'm Kevin Hearn with the City of Levelland. We've placed 9 roll-off containers around town for your unwanted items, old furniture, scrap lumber, tree limbs, and more. And it is absolutely free for Levelland residents. You can find a listing or a container locations on our Facebook page or call 894-0113 to find out more. March 21st through April 19th. It's the City of Levelland Spring Clean. Don't miss it.
KLVT, keeping you weather connected in Ropes, Lubbock, Morton, and your community with the KLVT Weathercast. Mostly cloudy and 47 today. Wind out of the northeast at 5 to 10. Then partly cloudy 31 tonight. Northeast wind at 5 to 10 will become southwesterly after midnight. 60 on Wednesday. Keeping you weather connected, KLVT Leveland. KLVTradio.com. Whether you measure your success by owning land you farm, expanding your herd or facility for maximum production, or managing risk to provide security for your family, the purpose at Ag Texas Farm Credit Services simply is this. Ag Texas Farm Credit Services is dedicated to the prosperity of agriculture and rural America. Loan programs, insurance, leasing, patronage, and more. Go to agtexas.com or call Ag Texas Farm Credit Services 894-6119.
There are those who dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud, the Marines.
That's right. Tell us, Tom. Stand me up at the gates. That's right. Attaboy. I won't back down. It's not what we do here at Who, What, When, Where, Why, and Wiiest. We get rid of all the garbage. We sort it out. We break it down for you. And we apply common sense, which needs to be the common denominator to all things. Because when we no longer have the common sense, we get into a point where we have stupidity, I guess is the best word we can use. Stupidity. Glad to have you along. KLVT Leveland, KLVTradio.com, KLVT Facebook Live. Who, What, When, Where, Why, and Wiiest. We've got another update come in from Keep Leveland Beautiful, and I'm going to get those folks on the interview calendar. I think my week sort of got away from me earlier, but we're going to get them in here because it's very, very cool what Keep Leveland Beautiful has been doing, to just make Leveland a better place to live. It's great stuff, folks. It's great stuff. So let's talk about what is going on in Washington, D.C. I just heard that PSA from the United States Marine Corps, and I had to point out a commitment greater than themselves. That's why the naval captain was relieved of command, because the commitment has to be greater than oneself in order to serve with success in the United States Armed Forces. God bless him. Hope he does well. Hope he's okay. As the president said, and I don't want to go back too far on this, but the president said, you know what, we don't want to wreck his whole career over one bad mistake. So what happens to that commander? I don't even know that he washes out of the U.S. Navy. However, they're not going to let him be the skipper of a major wartime asset unless the ice water and the seawater run through the veins. The president has been at it every day. And I've said this on numerous occasions. Let me first tell you, I did not vote for Donald J. Trump during the primary because I had a candidate I liked better. And I am not even ashamed to tell you the candidate I liked better was Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Big fan of Ted Cruz. Huge fan of Ted Cruz. Hopefully we get the senator on the show, because I'll tell you right now, I'd love to talk to Senator Cruz. When it came down to the election in November, I had a choice between Donald J. Trump and Hillary R. Clinton, and I picked Donald J. Trump because he had more things in line with what I believe than did the opponent. It's that simple. It's not hard for me. I have no animosity toward the president because he is the president of the United States. I think he's done a lot of great things. And what's really impressed me about the president of the United States of America right now is the dude doesn't seem to have a spot where he runs out of gas. He's just constantly going. I would love to have his kind of energy at this age, let alone that age. I mean, that man's 30 years older than I am, or pretty close. And he seems like he's still got energy in abundance. The president was back on stage again on Monday. Brought his people with him. Said, we're going to talk, folks. Another update from Corona. Here's the president on Monday.
Before I begin, I'd like to offer my condolences and best wishes to the people all across our great South who have endured deadly tornadoes and other severe weather in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and South Carolina. My administration will do everything possible to help those communities get back on their feet. We're speaking with the governors and representatives. FEMA's already on its way, and they got there as soon as we heard the word. I said, get out there. So FEMA's there, and you know the great job that FEMA does. It's really something very special. So we just want to say warmest condolences, and we're with you all the way. It's a tough deal. That was a bad level 5. That was a bad group. That's as high as it gets. It was a bad grouping of tornadoes, something that's something incredible. The power, the horrible, destructive power. America is continuing to make critical progress in our war against the virus. Over the weekend, the number of daily new infections remained flat, nationwide flat. Hospitalizations are slowing in hotspots like New York, New Jersey, Michigan, and Louisiana. This is clear evidence that our aggressive strategy to combat the virus is working and that Americans are following the guidelines. It's been incredible what they've done. You looked at the charts, and the charts are, and the models from early on predictions where 100 and 120,000 people looked like if they did well, they were going to unfortunately perish. And we're going to be hopefully way, way below that number. So that will be a sign of people doing things right, but it's still just a horrible thing all over the world. 184 countries. This is all a tribute to our wonderful healthcare advisors and experts who have been with us right from the beginning. We appreciate it so much.
There's the president. President sending well wishes and prayers out to the people in the south part of the United States of America, the southeast are hit by tornadoes, saying mitigation is working, saying social distance is working. We're on the right path. We're getting it done the right way. And hinting that the future of the economy and the future of what's next for America is starting to fall into conversation. I told you this top of the show, we're not going to be shut down much longer. Now, you're going to have the naysayers out there, the fearmongers that are going to discuss being closed, I don't know, another month, 6 months, 8 months, whatever they think. But this is what the president's saying. And here is what Secretary of the Treasury, this is what Dr. Fauci said about the COVID crisis and where we are right now.
A couple of things, and then I just want to make a comment about something that happened yesterday. You're going to hear from Dr. Burke soon about the numbers that we've been talking about, how things are starting to balance off. And I think the more as we go by each day, I think we're going to see, and again, I never like to get ahead of myself or of Dr. Burke's, but it looks like even though we've had a really bad week last week, remember when I was speaking to you before, I was saying this was really a bad week. There's still going to be a lot of deaths, but we're starting to see in some areas now that kind of flattening, particularly in a place that was a hot spot like New York. That's the first thing. The second thing is that I had a really very, very productive conversation with the Congressional Black Caucus this morning for about an hour, and they really wanted to know what exactly are we going to be doing in the immediate as well as the long range about the health disparities and the discrepancies both in infection and in poor outcome in the minorities in general, but specifically African American. And I mean, I made it very clear to them that what we have to do is focus on getting the resources where the vulnerable are to be able to get testing done, to be able to get the appropriate identification where proper and where appropriate to isolate and contact trace if we can, but also to help mitigate in a community that is suffering and suffering much more disproportionately. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. The other point I wanted to make is that I had an interview yesterday that I was asked a hypothetical question. And hypothetical questions sometimes can get you into some difficulty because it's what would have or could have. The nature of the hypothetical question was if, in fact, we had mitigated earlier, could lives have been saved? And the answer to my question was, as I always do, and I'm doing right now, perfectly honestly, say, yes. I mean, obviously, if mitigation helps, I've been up here many times telling you that mitigation works. So if mitigation works and you instigate it and you initiate it earlier, you will probably have saved more lives. If you initiated it later, you probably would have lost more lives. You initiated at a certain time. That was taken as a way that maybe somehow something was at fault here. So let me tell you from my experience, and I can only speak from my own experience, is that we had been talking before any meetings that we had about the pros and the cons, the effectiveness or not of strong mitigations. So discussions were going on mostly among the medical people about what that would mean. The first and only time that Dr. Birx and I went in and formally made a recommendation to the president to actually have a, quote, shutdown in the sense of not really shutdown, but to really have strong mitigation. We discussed it. Obviously, there would be concern by some that, in fact, that might have some negative consequences. Nonetheless, the president listened to the recommendation and went to the mitigation. The next second time that I went with Dr. Birx into the president and said, 15 days are not enough. We need to go 30 days. Obviously, there were people who had a problem with that because of the potential secondary effects. Nonetheless, at that time, the president went with the health recommendations, and we extended it another 30 days. So I can only tell you what I know and what my recommendations were. But clearly, as happens all the time, there were interpretations of that response to a hypothetical question that I just thought it would be very nice for me to clarify because I didn't have the chance to clarify.
There you go, Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci saying, hey, mitigation's working, folks. It's working. We're getting closer to getting back to work. That's good. We're gaining. That's good. It's Dr. Fauci. Now, you also heard him say, hey, I want to clarify something. I was given a hypothetical question yesterday, and I said, yeah, obviously earlier mitigation would have been better, which the media, by the way, spun that as President didn't act quick enough. President didn't act quick enough. Not the president. He didn't get things done in time. Fauci got called out on this thing during this press conference. Listen to what Dr. Fauci said to this particular reporter.
But clearly, as happens all the time, there were interpretations of that response to a hypothetical question that I just thought it would be very nice for me to clarify because I didn't have the chance to clarify. Thank you. Excuse me? The date. You know, to be honest with you, I don't even remember what the date was. But I can just tell you the first and only time that I went in and said we should do mitigation strongly, the response was, yes, we'll do it.
And what did you do? Is that the travel restrictions?
No, the travel restriction is separate. That was whether or not we wanted to go into a mitigation stage of 15 days of mitigation. The travel was another recommendation. When we went in and said, we probably should be doing that, and the answer was yes. And then another time was we should do it with Europe, and the answer was yes. And the next time we should do it with the UK, and the answer was yes.
In this interview, you said there was pushback.
Yeah.
Where did that pushback come from?
No, it wasn't, and that was the wrong choice of words. You know what it was? When people discuss, not necessarily in front of the president, when people discuss, they say, well, you know, this is going to have maybe a harmful effect on this or on that. So it was a poor choice of words. There wasn't anybody saying, no, you shouldn't do that.
Are you doing this voluntarily, or did the
No,
president
I'm doing it. Everything I do is voluntarily, please. Don't even imply that.
Are you doing this voluntary, or is the president and immediately Fauci, of course I'm doing this voluntarily. Of course I am. Folks, yes, if we would have shut the country down on January 1, we would have had less infections. That's not even hard. If we would have shut the country down on April 30th, we would have had more infections. Again, not really all that difficult. The national media has me so baffled at this point. They couldn't get the president on the Russian thing. They couldn't get the president on the Ukraine thing. They couldn't get the president on, you shouldn't be shutting stuff down because this isn't that big a deal. And now they're going to try to get him on you should have shut it down sooner. It's mind-blowing, folks. It's mind-blowing. Look, you and I can disagree. I was listening to Dennis Prager earlier today, talking about how much are Americans willing to give up so willingly before somebody goes, hey, wait a minute. I agree with Dennis Prager on that topic. You may not. You may think, well, he's just out stirring the soup, or whatever the case may be. That may be your interpretation of it. And that's the beautiful part about America, is we are allowed to interpret. We are allowed to gather information, form a well-educated opinion, and now in the day of social media, everybody can put their opinion out there anytime they want. Which there are times you go, man, I wish that would stop. That's a beautiful part of America, folks. This is why we just discussed the commitment of the U.S. military, commitment greater than themselves, because it gives you and I and Bill and Tom and Bob and Chuckles and everybody else, it gives us all the right to voice our opinion that we have formed based off the information we gathered. But the national media just can't get by this. And it went on from there, and the president, God bless this guy, because he just takes a scalding everywhere he goes. Folks, let's quit. Yeah, I know this is gonna blow your mind when I take this back to the ideas of baseball. But this is like being the biggest, baddest hitter on the team, and all the other team will do is either intentionally walk you or plunk you. That's all they'll do. They don't even let you have a chance to bat because they know they can't get you out. Here it is. The president, he's had enough of the media.
How do you close it up? You have no deaths and no cases on January 11th. Doctor, would you recommend closing the United States of America? Oh, this must be terrible. How many cases do we have? None. How many deaths do we have? None. January 17th, go back another week. On January 17th, this is 10 days before I did a little bit less than 10 days, before I did the ban. I did a ban on China. You think that was easy? I then did a ban on Europe. And a lot of people said that was an incredible thing to do because you look at Spain, and by the way, we're doing very well because when you look at all of those flat graphs and you add it all up, the United States is very low, and per capita we're very low. We're doing very well. But how do you close up the United States of America? So on January 6th, no deaths. On January 11th, no deaths. And no cases. On January 17th, no cases, no deaths. I'm supposed to close up the United States of America when I have no cases.
The middle of March. Should you have closed it down earlier?
I closed down from China. Excuse me. I closed it down from China. And by the way, some people think I should have waited longer and maybe ridden it out. I disagree with them, okay? But it was thought of. I mean, that was an alternative. You know, there are a lot of people that would have said, let's write it out. Now, I'll give you the good news. If I would have done that, it would have been, I think, catastrophic. Because their numbers are, Anthony, 1.6 to 2.2 million people would have died if we tried to do that. And I did this last time. Cut it in half. Don't say 2.2 million. Cut it in more than half. Say 1 million people died. Well, that's much more than the Civil War. Cut it in half. Take the million and cut it in half. That's 500,000 people would have died. Now, that number we would have reached, okay? That would have been easy to reach if we did nothing. So we did the right thing, and our timing was very good. But here's the one thing, and you have to say this. When you ask me, why didn't you do this? How come when I did the ban on China and instituted some very tough things, how come Nancy Pelosi a month later is in Chinatown saying, let's all march, this is not going to happen? How come we have many of the experts from CNN and many other networks, if you call CNN a network, I don't personally, but we have CNN, we have many other places, and they're all saying, he doesn't need to do it. He doesn't need to do it. All I'm saying is this: how do you close down the greatest economy in the history of the world when on January 17th you have no cases and no death? When on January 21st you have one case and no death. One case. Think of that. Now, we're supposed to close down the country, but here's what happened. When on January 31st I instituted the ban, Joe Biden went crazy. He said, you don't need the ban. He didn't go crazy. Look, he didn't even know what the hell the ban was. So he didn't go crazy. But he did call me xenophobic. Wait a minute. He called me xenophobic. He called me a racist because he has since apologized and he said I did the right thing. So when you say, why didn't you this? Every Democrat thought I made a mistake when I did it.
There you go. That's the president from yesterday's press conference. Look, here's the thing. You can either like the president, you can dislike the president. If you don't like what the president's doing, here's a great thing about America. And I don't know if anybody's realized this. But the great thing about America is if you don't like what your elected officials are doing, you can run for office. It's awesome. It's very cool. I have said for years and years and years and years, as long as I've been involved in any sort of political realm whatsoever, if the person is in office is doing a good job, then I don't have any reason to run for said office. If the person in the office is doing a poor job, I have a reason to run for office. To me, it's that simple. It's that easy. Now, grant you, President of the United States, they get to elect a new president every 4 years, or they can have 8 in a row. Okay, whatever. But the point is, they harped when he closed down travel from China. And he's exactly right. Biden called him xenophobic. He called him a racist. And you know what? Hey, kudos to Joe Biden where kudos is due. He has since apologized. Said, you know what? I had it wrong. You got it right. That's a good job. That's a good job, Joe Biden. Good job. But these folks in the national media syndicate just can't let it go. They just can't. They can't let it go. They can't sit there for 5 minutes and go, hey, you know what? Maybe he's got this handled. Maybe we're okay here. No. No. Can't play gotcha journalism if you don't just, throw stuff at the wall and hope it sticks. Hey, you remember back on April the 1st when they tried to throw stuff at Steve Mnuchin? Tell you about that coming up. Who, what, when, where, why, Wiiest, don't move. We're back in moments on KLVT Levelland, KLVTradio.com, KLVT Facebook Live.
Dreaming about that perfect yard but have no idea where to start? Call Wes and Mel at Wes's Landscape Care and Design. This family-owned business has over 20 years experience and is known for their creative concepts, reliability, and they turn into... From old school tree care, maintenance, or creating your own personal outdoor oasis. Get your yard fixed, 252-0696. Online at westlandscapedesign.com. Or like us on Facebook. A few tools, a good eye, and a wholehearted passion. Wes's Landscape Care and Design.
Domino's week-long carry-out deal means you can carry out 3-topping pizzas for $7.99 each every day. That's right, $7.99 each, and every day means any day. But just in case there's any confusion, we've set up a helpful website to confirm if today's a day you can carry out 3-topping pizzas for $7.99 each at Domino's. Just go to howaboutoday.com to find out if Domino's week-long carry-out deal is valid today. Spoiler alert, it is. Carry out only. You must ask for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, and charges may vary. Excludes extra large and specialty pizzas. Crust availability varies by size.
We're midway through bath time, and 2 medium, 2-topping Domino's pizzas for $5.99 each have begun their drive to the Smith's front door. That's a GPS-enabled custom delivery alert, folks. The newest improvement to the Domino's tracker, saying Domino's will be there in 2 minutes. They're calling it audible. Bath time's now rinse time. They've got 1 kid dry, 2 kids dry. The pizzas are here. They made it to the door. The kids are clean enough. The new Domino's tracker with GPS worked again.
2 at a minimum. Pan pizza will be extra. Ask for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary.
The City of Levelland is working hard for you. Hi, I'm Steve Miner with the City of Levelland. Have you heard about our Drop-A-Trailer program? City utility customers who live inside the city limits can reserve a 14-foot dump trailer for you to load up, and then we'll take it to the landfill free of charge. For residential customer use only. Some restrictions apply. To find out more, look up Drop-A-Trailer at levellandtexas.org or call 568-5425.
KLVT, keeping you weather connected in Littlefield, Whiteface, Wolforth, and your community with the KLVT Weathercast. Mostly cloudy and 47 today. Wind out of the northeast at 5 to 10. Then partly cloudy 31 tonight. Northeast wind at 5 to 10 will become southwesterly after midnight. 60 on Wednesday. Keeping you weather connected, KLVT Levelland. KLVTradio.com. Chevrolet, find new roads. Go online. Go to JohnRowleyLevelland.com today. And at John Rowley Auto Center, look, doing business every day, just in a different way. John Rowley joins us. And, John, if they're still needing that vehicle serviced, you guys can hook them up with no problem.
Well, thank you, Michael. We sure are. We've taken many precautions to keep the building and clean, along with different things that we're doing for our employees, for health, safety, and for their cars, the customers' cars that come in that we work on. We're taking care of those in a much different fashion than what we used to. So we're on board. We recognize that people are concerned, but we want them to know we've taken all the precautions here we can, and we're going to have a good business relationship. We'll come and pick up your car. We'll deliver your car, whatever we need to do to keep business going. But just because, this is going on doesn't mean that we're not open for business.
The service, the sales, the commitment to you and our community continues stronger than ever at John Rowley Levelland. Online, JohnRowleyLevelland.com. Good Morning Texas returns for you on Wednesday as we check in with the Hockley County Agri-Life Extension Office. President of South Plains College, Dr. Robin Satterwhite, will be along. We'll be discussing the latest information coming out of South Plains College. Get you updated on the Mallett Event Center. No events going on right now, but events in the future and opportunities for you to book. They book quickly. We'll tell you more about that as well. Well, there's some What Say You, plus news, weather, sports, community events and reminders, the Aim Bank Birthday Report, the Levelland EDC Energy Report, Hockley County Senior Citizen Center Word of the Day, and Morning Catch-Up with Wanda's Designs. All comes up tomorrow right here on KLVT.
There ain't no rest for the wicked. Money don't grow on trees. I got bills to pay. I got
That's right, we've all got bills to pay and mouths to feed. And nothing in the world's free, folks. No truer words were said. Welcome back. Who, what, when, where, why, and Wiiest on KLVT Levelland, KLVTradio.com, and on KLVT Facebook Live. I love when these numbers come in because these numbers are great. Levelland ISD has just announced the intermediate school served 338 fine kids today. Capital Elementary at 108. Levelland High School, 235. Our folks at Levelland ISD and Sodexo served 731 meals today. And by the way, thanks to some hard work from Secretary of Agriculture, Commissioner of Agriculture, Sid Miller, who, again, I'm a huge fan of Sid Miller. If you've watched this show, if you've seen Good Morning Texas, you know I think Sid Miller is a sharp dude. Levelland ISD will now be serving meals for the weekends as well, and that weekend meal service starts this weekend, okay? Those weekend meals will be handed out on Friday. The shack will consist of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday breakfast and lunch, thanks to Levelland ISD and the Commissioner of Agriculture, Sid Miller. Originally, they said, no, you can't feed them on the weekends because weekends, no, that wouldn't fall into the regular scope of your duty. But the Secretary of Agriculture, Commissioner of Agriculture, Sid Miller, said, wait a minute, guys. Wait a minute. We think it's probably a good idea to continue to get those meals to those kids. And I agree with him. And believe me, I'm the farthest guy in the world from handouts, but that's good work by Sid Miller and his people. Good job. Good job. Well, speaking of good jobs, I just love when a government official gets on stage and says, this is how it's going to work. This is what we're going to do, and this is what it's going to get done. And, of course, it used to be we waited for said government official to stumble. That's what we used to do. But now we immediately accuse them of telling him, no, this isn't true. This isn't true. I've got reports this isn't true. If you remember back to April the 1st, which was, by the way, 13 days ago, which, by my math, tomorrow would be 14 days, right? There's 7 days in a week. Oh, yeah. That's 2 weeks, right? Right? Let's go back 13 days ago from today and hear this from Secretary of the Treasury, Steve Mnuchin.
With the small business owners, a number of them saying that they were on that conference call and that there's a tremendous power struggle going on between the Treasury and SBA, and that it's over process and forms is what they tell me, that lenders are actually opting out because they can't make enough money to even service the loans. So how are you going to make sure these small business owners get the capital they need to survive right now?
Well, first of all, I can assure you, Jovita's here. Jovita used to work for me as the treasurer. There's no power struggle. Jovita and our team, as I said, worked together till 4 o'clock in the morning, started working at 7 o'clock again. We've made the form simpler, and I can assure you at 5 points, I've told these bankers they should take all their traders and put them in the branches. So there'll never be another opportunity to earn 5 points on a 90-day fully government guaranteed loan.
So Steve Mnuchin said on the 1st of April that we're going to have this thing up and running through the SBA. I can tell you, I know of businesses who applied the very next day, and lo and behold, the application process worked. I can also tell you there are local lending institutions that got on board with this and said, yeah, we're on board. Well, now you tell me if a local bank in our area, we're in a rural area in West Texas, we got great banks, great bankers, great people. But if a small community bank can manage doing these things, you're telling me that Chase can't? Or Wells Fargo or one of these major conglomerates won't? Please. The local banks have a much thinner profit line, and if there was no money here, there was no reason for the banks to get involved. The local banks would have been the first to say, man, we don't have the manpower, we don't have the infrastructure, we're not ready for this. And yet, sure enough, the next day, the applications were on. Mnuchin also said this.
And those checks right into direct deposit, IRS now saying it could take 4 to 5 months. You're saying 2 weeks.
Let me be clear. I don't know where you're hearing these things. I told you this would be 3 weeks. I'm now committing to 2 weeks. We're delivering on our commitments. The IRS, which I oversee, within 2 weeks, the first money won't be in people's accounts.
Steve Mnuchin. I told you originally 3 weeks. I now am saying 2 weeks. 2 weeks is tomorrow. I actually know people, and I'm not going to give any names because that's not the point. You're just going to have to believe me on this one when I tell you this. I actually know people that now have deposits pending from the IRS for stimulus money. I'll be darned. So to those reporters that are on the press room floor well, banks are going to opt out. They're not going to take part. Well, the bank's taking part, so no. You're not going to get checks out for 4 to 5 months. And yet we're already seeing deposits into Americans' accounts, and that's actually ahead of the 14-day schedule. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but this is one of my favorite television characters in history. I think Dr. Perry Cox needs to be brought back to tell the national media this.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
Sing it.
You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
Thank you, Dr. Cox. Well, the House Ways and Means says this is going to happen. We have insiders inside the IRS that say this isn't going to happen. We know this and we know that, and you don't know. Steve Mnuchin says, really? I'm the head of all this stuff. So, what now? I love it, folks. I absolutely love it. Folks, I know that not every day the American government is doing the big thing, doing the right thing, making things work the way they need to. Again, I'm a firm believer the government should only do what the private sector can't, won't, or shouldn't do. The conservative teachings of one Mr. Phil Valentine. But I really like it when the national media gets put in their place. Steve Mnuchin said, hey, originally I said 3 weeks. Now I'm saying 2 weeks. We've got people seeing money drop into their account. We had a story in Indiana this morning. Volunteer firefighters got a stimulus check. I know people right here in the immediate neighborhood that have already said, hey, you know what? You were right. Steve Mnuchin was right. We're getting our stimulus. Now, is everybody going to get theirs tomorrow? No, let's be serious. You're talking about millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of Americans. Is the SBA thing going to be as fast as you'd like it to be? I think Jody Arrington was right. Congressman Jody Arrington said we're putting this in the hands of our local lenders and our local banks because they can move faster than government can. He's right. It may not be quite as fast as we'd like it, but let's face it, we're an instantaneous society. What is as fast as you'd like it to be? Name one. I'll wait. The bottom line is Steve Mnuchin said 2 weeks. Guess what? Steve Mnuchin was right on the money. Oh, I'm sorry, national media. Oops. Who, what, when, where, why, and Wiiest. We got one more segment coming up for you. We'll get you some good news and something that I just find humorous, to say the least. Stick around. KLVT Leveland, KLVTradio.com, KLVT Facebook Live. Back after this.
McCutcheon Construction is proud to be part of the community of Leveland and proud to be part of the team that's Leveland ISD and South Plains College. And they're proud to give 110%. Whether it's a $30 million renovation project for Leveland ISD, a $10 million Lobo Stadium, new residence halls at South Plains College, or the new Lubbock campus for South Plains College, McCutcheon Construction is proud to give 110%. McCutcheon Construction, 894-2861.
When is it right to use home quarantine or home isolation? Covenant Health Leveland follows CDC guidelines in recommending that if you feel you have been exposed to the virus but are not showing symptoms, or you are sick with respiratory disease symptoms, stay home. The idea is to separate yourself and monitor for fever, cough, and shortness of breath. It is also to separate ill persons to limit the spread. These measures can help keep the virus from spreading. If you have any questions, call your provider. Complete, compassionate, Covenant Care, Covenant Health Leveland.
It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it.
It may be the end of the world as we know it, but I feel fine. I don't know about you. Who, what, when, where, why, and Wiiest. KLVT Leveland, KLVTradio.com, KLVT Facebook Live. Hey, tomorrow We're going to be joined by the folks from Keep Level and Beautiful. That's right. I'm excited about this. I am very excited about this. We're going to be visiting with Kelly from Keep Level and Beautiful, and they've been doing an excellent job. We're very excited for them. They've won some awards. Well-deserved. Thank you. Rusty, thank you. Awesome show, Michael. Hey, man, appreciate it. I also want to send a shout-out to Bryant, who text messaged me and said, hey, we appreciate you being our hometown talk show host. You're bringing out what we understand together. Prayers for America. Bryant, you're right on, brother. Prayers for America. Prayers for America. No doubt. No doubt, because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We all want to survive. We all want to be Americans. We all want to go back to the polls. We all want to vote. We all want to do all these things. We want to go back to our restaurants. We want to go back to our favorite places. We want to go hang out with our friends again. We want to play baseball again. We want to do all these things. And, folks, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. We just got to continue to stay on track. Now, you can stay on track. You can stay on track. You can follow the rules. You can still question, because we got to question. Okay? But we have to stay on track, because that's the rule of the land right now. And we follow the rules. Once we get through coronavirus, we're going to go back and look at a lot of this stuff and go, okay, that was necessary, that wasn't, that was necessary, that wasn't. We're going to have data to work with. We don't have any data right now. And that's too bad. This story cracks me up. This cracks me up. Because if you really, what do we talk about on this show? We talk about common sense. What does the common sense tell you? And the common sense will tell you, when I read you this, you go, well, duh. And when I heard this headline today, I went, well, duh. Former President Barack Obama on Tuesday has formally endorsed Joe Biden in the race against President Donald Trump, stepping off the sidelines and after withholding support for any other candidate for months. Okay. I'm sorry, folks. This is very, very difficult for me. Biden worked for the guy. I mean, come on. You know what? I, with any luck, will never have to leave the friendly confines of KLVT Level A. But we all know, hey, that's always a possibility. And I would certainly hope that my employer, who I have served faithfully under for the last 10 years, would endorse me. You hope so. Otherwise, you're left on really bad terms. And I'm pretty sure Biden didn't get fired by Obama, right? I don't remember that happening, right? I don't remember this. So for starters, how much faith do you put in a guy if you sat on the sidelines for a year and wouldn't endorse the guy you worked with for 8 years? How much faith does that instill in Joe Biden? Honestly, how much? Really? Let's be fair. Second of all, turn on ESPN later today. You turn on Fox Sports or whatever sports channel you have, and see if there's a game on. It's not going to be a live game, obviously, because professional sports, they don't exist. College sports don't exist. They're not there. There are no college or professional sports available, right? Right. Again, common sense. So you're sitting there watching a game, and your brother walks into the room, and he says, hey, this is the Nebraska-Oklahoma game, right? And he says, and you say, yeah. And he says, I'll bet you Nebraska, I'll bet you $20 Nebraska wins. It's a game that already happened. Of course he knows the outcome. Who did you think Obama was going to come out and endorse? Trump? Are you kidding me? What in the world is this about? One, you won't endorse the guy that worked for you for 8 years. That doesn't exactly scream faith. I would certainly hope if Tanya Mooney was president of the United States which would be a great idea, by the way. And I was vice president, which I would turn down because I want to be secretary of offense is what I want to be. And they're going to have to invent that because there's no secretary of offense at the moment. But there should be. And I was vice president that when Tanya ran out her term, and I ran for president, that she would certainly have enough faith in me to endorse me. She hired me in the first place. It takes Obama a full year to endorse a guy that worked for him for 8 years. And there's only one horse. How in the world can you not pick the only horse in the race? There's only one. Good grief. This may be the dumbest thing I have read in a month. Well, no duh, he endorsed Biden again. For crying out loud, the dude worked for him for 8 years. I mean, if my boss wouldn't endorse me for my run, I would be like, well, thanks for nothing. Good grief. All right, got this in from our friends at Hickory Place. I wanted to read to you just briefly some of this. Because, again, I always try to wrap up the show with A, good news, or B, things that make me laugh. And deal. Well, I'm finally going to endorse you. Well, gee, thanks for waiting a year. I'm sorry, but if I was Joe Biden, that's what I'd responded with. Well, it's about bloody time. I only worked for you for 8 years, you jerk. All right. Anyway, we got an email from our friends at Hickory Place. And I understand for you folks out there that have friends or family members in assisted living facilities and skilled nursing facilities where these places are in lockdown. I actually drove by one of our places the other day, and there was a lady sitting in a camp chair outside the window talking to, I'm betting was a relative through the window. You know, painted glass between them. Perfectly legal, 6 feet apart. One was in one room, wasn't. The other one wasn't, so on and so forth. And it was a little bit heart-wrenching for me to see that lady sitting there in her chair, and we've seen images like this all across the country. There's going to be Pulitzers won over this crisis. Because I see this young lady sitting out there in her chair outside the window of, I'm betting, was maybe a mom or an aunt. I couldn't see inside the window. I didn't run up and get involved. I just happened to see it. It was a little heart-wrenching for me. I've lost my mom. I've lost both of my grandmas. I had to adopt the Marigolds because I need as many, motherly figures as I can get. So I adopted like 50 of them. So that worked out really good for me. But we got this in from Hickory Place from Andrea Garcia, who is the coordinator over there, executive director. Pardon me, I want to get this right. Executive director of Hickory Place. And she sent us an email as a press release. And she said, I'm reaching out to update you on how we continue to respond to COVID-19. We currently do not, underlined, bold-faced, do not, underlined, bold-faced, have any suspected or confirmed cases of COVID-19 in our community. All employees and essential visitors are being screened before they enter the building for COVID-19 for risk factors. This includes taking temperatures, asking series of questions based on CDC guidance. It helps us determine whether someone is a risk for exposure and to prevent them from entering. We've discontinued full group activities. We're doing in-room activities and hallway activities in smaller groups, using appropriate social distancing to make sure your loved one is staying engaged. We're adhering to CDC guidance on social distancing to keep our residents safe. All employees and visitors are wearing masks at all times in our communities. It helps our residents. It helps protect them from anyone transmitting the disease. And we have moved in-room dining for all meals. The meals we are delivering to your loved one's room or apartment. And again, it helps us support social distancing guidelines from the CDC. That's from Hickory Place. Folks, I don't know about you, but I think the best thing you can find out when you're in a time of crises, that the folks that are going to be assisting you in the time of crises are folks that are, A, very good communicators. Like this email I got right here in my hands from Hickory Place. Like the president, he's on TV every day. Like the governor, who's been on TV every other day. I think that it gives us great comfort when we know our loved ones are in the hands of somebody who is a great communicator, who wants to share the information, doesn't want to sit and hide things. And I put the Honorable Judge Charlotte Baldridge into this. I put our city manager, Eric Rahino, and our mayor, Barbara Pinner, and our superintendents all around the area in this category. And I put Dr. Robin Satterwhite in this category. It feels better when the people who are in charge of the well-being of your loved one at the Hickory Place, if that's where they may be, are communicating with you saying, hey, guys, we're doing this, this, and this. We have no suspected cases. We're doing everything in our power to take care of your loved ones. The next best thing of handling something yourself is having someone you sincerely trust handle it for you. I don't have a family member at Hickory Place. I lost my mother a few years ago. I've lost both my grandmothers. I've lost both my grandfathers. My dad, well, Dad's pretty self-reliant yet today. The point is, when someone you trust is at the wheel, you can sleep in the back seat of the car. It's that simple. And folks, it may not be easy to have your loved one detached from you in a skilled living facility or an assisted living facility, but at least in this case we know somebody's looking out for them. And that's what I'm here to do, is help look out for you on the who, what, when, where, why, and Wiiest. I hope you enjoyed it. Brought to you by your friends at Best in Texas on College Avenue in Levelland. I will be back with you again tomorrow. 2 o'clock, be here. KLVT Levelland, KLVTradio.com, KLVT Facebook Live. Until then, have a great rest of your Tuesday. Above all, be good to each other out there.
With over 30 years of presence in the Permian Basin,